right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Crystal Heumann, a digital reporter here at News 10. I am joined by Fred Heumann from News 10 Sports. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's
Happy
a holiday
third.
weekend. Happy third. Exactly. We were talking a little bit last week about we had some kind of crazy weather.
Yeah.
And there was a couple storms that rolled through, and there was actually some damage to one of the courses in Detroit, but that did not sway.
Well, at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, the Detroit Golf Club, there were trees downed all over. They did quite a job on Wednesday getting that cleaned up so they could play the first round on Thursday. And the tournament came off without a hitch, although there was rain during yesterday's final round, which Rickie Fowler finally survived. But they did a great job cleaning that up.
And this was a big win for Rickie.
Well, it was because he hasn't won. He had that monkey on his back, and he admitted after the round yesterday, and they moved that round way up because of the rain, so it finished like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But he admitted that it was a monkey off his back, that he had been thinking about it. I mean, every time he plays in a tournament, everyone reminds everyone that he hasn't won in 4 years and 4 months or whatever it is.
Yeah, they had it down to the day.
And then he was close in a couple of majors recently, and he's been playing well, very well this year. Had a very disappointing finish a couple of weeks ago at the U.S. Open, but finally put it all together in Detroit. And I think the good news for the Rocket Mortgage Classic is, I said last week, the problem with this tournament is they need bigger names to compete for the championship. And on Friday, they didn't have those. They had a bunch of guys we haven't even heard of. But in the end, Morikawa and Fowler were fighting it out for the championship, and that kind of saved this weekend, really, for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. But it was a good win for Rickie Fowler, who everyone concerned seems to think is an all-around good guy. A lot of people were pulling for him, but Morikawa hasn't won in a few years either. So one streak had to break, and it turned out to be Rickie Fowler's.
Do you think now the pressure is on Morikawa?
Well, not like it was with Fowler.
No.
I mean, Morikawa's been a solid player. I don't think he feels the same kind of heat Fowler did, because Fowler came in to all this fame and fortune early in his career and hasn't done anything in 4 years. And I don't think Morikawa is quite at the popularity level that Fowler is. Fowler is a very popular player on tour.
He is very popular. A lot of people who don't even know golf very well know Rickie Fowler.
It's the dress, it's the orange on Sunday, it's the personality.
That shot was right after he
the girls love him because he looks good and all that. So yeah, I mean, he's a very popular player.
It's a very cool picture, actually.
Yeah, that is. And a lot of people wearing orange in the stands in Detroit. So that was really a good finish in Detroit, and good for Rickie Fowler.
This is also his first win as a dad. You saw him with his little baby afterwards. That was really cute.
How about that? Yeah.
So congratulations to Rickie Fowler, and
that
great.
Was cool.
It was I know everybody who went down there had a really good time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we got that going for us.
Yeah.
And then I came into the sports office after I scared you. I'm still sorry about that.
I get jumpy.
And you work with him, and you still get jumpy?
I sit back there all alone, and when somebody comes in, I always jump. But anyway, I survived.
Anyway. We wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Wings, because free agency opened on Saturday, and there's already been a lot of moves. The Red Wings have signed 10 players altogether already. And one thing that we have, so Daniel Sprong right there, he wore number 91 in Seattle. He has said that he will not wear that in Detroit.
Because of Fedorov.
Yes.
Good for him.
He will wear number 88, which no Red Wing has worn before.
And the Red Wings shouldn't let him wear it. So I agree with that.
I agree too, but unofficially it was available. So you saw there, we now have 2 goalies signed. I say we, Detroit has 2 goalies signed. What does that mean? Goaltending is so important, as we saw in this year's Stanley Cup Finals. JT Comfort coming back home to Michigan. He played for the Wolverines. But we lost Magnus Hellberg and Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, my theory on goaltenders is kind of like quarterbacks and girlfriends. If you have more than one, you have none. Okay? So anyone that tells you they have 3 girlfriends probably has none. Anyone that tells you they have 2 quarterbacks probably have none. And in goaltending, and you talked about losing 2 goalies, but Nedeljkovic played in the minor leagues most of the year.
Most of the year. So he had a good start.
I liked that signing when they signed him. He was with Carolina. He was considered one of the top 10 goalies in the league. I don't know what happened.
I watched him play in Plymouth with the Whalers way back when.
The management of the Red Wings is not dumb. There's a reason he was in the minor leagues. His play had never got to where it was at Carolina, so I don't think those are huge losses. So the problem is goaltending is important, so who's going to play goal this year? Whether they sign a free agent still, or whether they wait their time for Trey Augustine, whom they drafted last week at Michigan. He's playing at Michigan State. That's kind of a long way off.
Or Sebastian Cosa, who's at development camp.
They could, but boy, they signed a lot of quantity over the weekend. I'm not sure how much quality they signed, but Steve Yzerplan was very active, and they're tired of not making the playoffs. What is it, 7 straight years now they haven't made it? You know that.
I do.
They're tired of not making the playoffs, so they needed to change the mix, so they have a lot of new players. I would say 80% of them I haven't even heard of.
No.
Comfer is the biggest name, because we're familiar with him around here.
Right.
And he's had a good career, so I mean, that should help. But the other guys I don't know much about, so I don't know if they just signed quantity or quality. We'll find out.
It looks right now like a little bit of, I want to say both, only because you're seeing a lot of short signings. You're seeing a lot of 1 and 2 year.
Right.
Comfer was the longest one at 5 years.
Yeah. But they didn't sign Gretzky and Howe. I mean, these guys aren't going to get long-term deals.
James Reimer has he's been around the league for a long time. He's been with some great teams.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. This was all just over this past weekend, by the way. This wasn't over
since Saturday
morning. Yeah.
It's like 10 players.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So and they're not standing pat. I'll give them that.
They're not. No. And like we said, Magnus Hellberg and Alex Nedeljkovic no longer with the Red Wings. They are both with Pittsburgh.
Right.
So big rivals for Detroit, in case you're unaware. Another rival is Toronto, one of the original 6.
Yeah.
And they signed
Tyler Bertuzzi.
I
I thought when the Red Wings traded Bertuzzi, when that flurry of trades late in the year, that was the downfall of this year's Wings. I think he was a character guy in the locker room. I think he was a guy that they felt gave them a competitive edge. I think he's one of their better players. And when they traded him, I think the players kind of packed it in.
I do too.
And he signed with Boston, and now he is a free agent. So he earned it. He's with Toronto, and he'll help them. He's a really good player. I was disappointed the Red Wings let him get away.
You could tell right after that during Dylan Larkin's press conference, because they're best friends. They've been in the league for the same amount of time. They were in training camp together. You could see how it changed the vibe in the locker room.
Well, I don't think there's any question it did. And I think it affected the other players too. Now, whether he was worth the kind of money he's going to make with Toronto, those are the kind of decisions that Yzerplan gets paid for, and he obviously decided it was not worth tying him into a long-term deal. But just as a player at face value, I think the Red Wings went down when he left, and I think he's a really good player.
One really cool note, the 2014-2015 Michigan Wolverines hockey team had 3 of the current Red Wing centers on it: Larkin, Andrew Kopp, and JT Compher.
How about that?
That's pretty cool, right?
How about they got 3 of them there?
All 3 of them.
I didn't realize that. Only you would pick that out, but I guess that's true. It's going to have a definite Michigan flavor, and if they wait for Augustine from Michigan State, they could be playing in front of a Michigan State goalie. So
they haven't had a lot of Spartans in a while.
They haven't. No, they had Abdicator.
They had Abdicator. They had Miller,
and they had Drew Miller but those were a few years ago now, so they haven't in recent times.
Also, former Red Wing Luke Glendening, also former Michigan player. He signed with Tampa. So.
Did he? Okay, didn't hear that.
Couple of players that are now.
A lot of Wolverines around the league.
Glendening was with Dallas most recently, but did you see the draft too? There were a few Michigan players that went to Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus has like 5 of them.
They have 5 Michigan players now, and it's very weird.
Yeah, it is strange. In Columbus.
They're calling it Go Blue Go Blue Jackets.
Go Blue Jackets?
Yeah.
If they produce, they'll love them.
They will.
They'll love them.
They will. It's going to be kind of weird, but take care of them down there, guys. So what do you have coming up on the Sports Desk? I know Joey was in here earlier.
Joey went to Cranbrook today to follow the Michigan State. He's done a lot of stuff with Ozan Barish from Michigan State. He's a Michigan State's sophomore to be. Finished his freshman year, had a great season, was borderline All-American, and he's playing in a tournament in Cranbrook today. So that's going to be our lead story. Joey's there, and we'll have highlights and reaction tonight at 6 and 11. That's about what we got, mostly what's going on.
Okay. It's holiday week. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
It's like that over here, too.
Calm before the storm.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, make sure you shoot them our way. And we will see you again, not tomorrow because of the holiday, but we will see you again on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.